order, please. It's for Monday, October 3rd, 2022. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Cunningham.
Present in person.
Councilmember Flewelling.
Here.
Councilmember Dawson. Absent. Councilmember McEllen. Here. Councilmember Lawson.
Mark Lawson online.
Councilmember Howard. Here. Councilmember Rodman. Absent. Councilmember Hervishon. Absent. Councilmember Glover.
Here.
Vice Chair Somerville.
Present.
Chairman Passamet.
Here. We do have a quorum then. Okay. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public notice of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. I would ask a member to approve tonight's caucus agenda.
So moved, sir.
Mr. McKellen makes the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Cunningham makes the second. Duly motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, the agenda will be approved without objection. And now we move to the agenda review. Is there any question or concern from any council member about tonight's county council meeting? It's rather straightforward. 3 items on the consent agenda. Okay. Is there any other discussion that needs to take place before the council meeting this evening? And by the way, 2 additional members have arrived. Mr. Rodman has arrived and Mr. Hervishon has arrived. So it looks like we only have 1 person absent this evening. Okay. Mr. Rodman.
And if we hurry up and get 170 fixed, we could get here on time.
Well, that's true. But,
I was here at 5 still.
yes. I beat the traffic myself before there. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, we are going to adjourn the caucus meeting and be back at 6 p.m. for the regular meeting. Caucus meeting is now adjourned.
Was it accident or just bad?
Council meeting to order of Monday, October 3rd. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Cunningham.
Present.
Councilmember Flewelling.
Present.
Councilmember Dawson. Absent. Councilmember McGowan.
Present.
Councilmember Lawson.
Mark Lawson online.
Councilmember Howard.
Present.
Councilmember Rodman.
Present.
Councilmember Hervishon.
Present.
Councilmember Glover.
Here.
Vice Chair Somerville.
Present.
Chairman Passman.
Present. We
10
have
present,
10 of
one
the
absent.
11 members, so we can conduct business of county council. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Council Member Howard will do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing for the invocation.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Our prayers tonight are with the families who lost loved ones in Cuba, Florida, and North Carolina, and with all the communities who are suffering from Hurricane Ian in Puerto Rico and the Southeast. Our Beaufort County community is strong in times of crisis, and we are thankful that the Holy Spirit cultivates it with the choices and commitments we make. It takes work to cultivate a community, as explained through the Bible and detailed in the book, The Purpose-Driven Life. First, you have to cultivate honesty, from Proverbs 28. In the end, people appreciate frankness. Cultivate humility. In Peter 1, God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. Cultivate courtesy. In Romans 15 and 12, we must bear the burden of being considerate of the doubts and fears of others. Try to excel in showing respect for each other. Cultivate frequency. In Hebrews 10, it says it takes frequency of meeting to build relationships together. Dear Lord, please help the Beaufort community to continue to work together through honesty, humility, courtesy, and relationships. Amen.
Public notice of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Will a member of council please make a motion to approve tonight's council agenda? Mr. Rodman makes the motion.
Second.
Mr. Glover makes the second. Duly motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, the agenda will be approved without objection, and I see no objections. Next is the approval of the minutes of September 12th and September 26th of 2022. May I have a motion for the approval of those minutes?
I move for the approval.
Mr. Glover makes the motion.
And 26, yes.
I'll make a second.
Ms. Howard makes the second. Duly motioned and seconded. Are there any questions, concerns about the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes will be approved without objection, and there are no objections. We now turn to our administrator's report. Good evening, Mr. Greenway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to County Council, those that are watching us at home and online, and the members who are in the audience here. My report will be brief tonight. It's just we are not doing the employee recognition night because we do not have time to do that due to the short turnaround on the council meeting. But I do want to thank the Sheriff's Office, particularly Neil Baxley, Trinity Funk, and Hope Abel, and Sheriff P.J. Tanner for the job that they did in keeping us all informed and getting ready for the hurricane response. It turned out, as you all know, that we missed it. It blew by us and we got very little out of it. Our hearts go out to those people that were impacted by the storm, but I do want to thank them. I also want to take a moment to thank the staff on the Beaufort County team that worked with me during those 2 days. It was my first hurricane. It was a good exercise for us to learn what we needed to do so that we'll be better prepared in the future. We've got some things that we need to improve upon in case we do have to do a recovery response, particularly as it relates to pay for hurricane work, and we will be bringing that forward here shortly. So I'm very proud of the people that I work with on a daily basis. They're a great group, they're a great team, and I'm very thankful that for the job that they did during that time. I do want to introduce a couple of new employees with you. One I'm going to introduce is from the Clerk of Council's office, Octavia Evans here. She is not a new county employee. She came to Sarah's office from the Registered Deeds office. She's been there for some time, in that 9 years? 11 years. Okay, I knew it was up there. So, she's done a great job up there, and I know she'll do equally well for you all and for Sarah in the Clerk of Council's office. Kyle, come on. This is Kyla, last name? Hope. She started with us today. She is a brand new employee. She's working as a broadcast specialist in our county channel department. So we're excited about the talent that she brings, and know she's going to do great things for us in that role. We are doing some transitioning. Many of you know that we lost Scott Grooms back to Walterboro. So we're doing some transitioning and using this as an opportunity to reorganize that office a little bit. I'll keep you informed as we finish those things up. So there's two more people I want to introduce to you. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. I'm not going to make him come up, but many of you in the back corner there recognize Eric Larson. He has returned to our workforce as the Capital Projects Director. He's been with us a couple of weeks now. So I'm excited to have him back on the team, and I look forward to us moving capital projects and completion of those forward. The fourth person tonight is Brad Mole. Many of you may know Brad. He used to work at Bluffton, then left for a while, but he's been hired by Community Works, the agency that we're going to enter into an agreement with on operating the Regional Housing Trust Fund. So Brad will be the local person here that will help us get hundreds of affordable housing units on the ground here in the county to finally start solving that problem that we've had for so long. So, Mr. Chairman, unless anybody has any questions for me, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Anybody online have a question? Okay, thank you. All right, next is our citizen comments. We have two individuals who would like to make comments to the county council. Gary, would you please come forward? Please state your name.
My name is Gary Sterling, and I'd like to say thank you very much for this opportunity. I am an entertainer, and I'm here in support of the theater, the Center for the Arts on St. Helena Island. And if there's one thing we need on the island is the Center for the Arts. I have been back because I travel a lot performing, and I've been back now for a couple of months and looked around the islands, listened, watched the children, watched the youth, things that they do, and there's so much that can be achieved on this island where the arts are concerned. People will come and enjoy the island and enjoy performance. And not only that, but specifically the gala culture. This is something that needs to be told and done through music. And people will come and enjoy and have food and have all these things. Even though creating work, the most important is the culture of the island. St. Helena Island. And so I'm here in support of that, asking you all to, when you think and then consult about it, you will consult honestly and deeply and know that you, the council, have supported something that's going to be very important for the island. And they can say, yes, the council has done this for us. And now we are able to take this, people can come and learn about this culture, but enjoy the island also. So I thank you very much. I was going to sing for you, but there's only 3 minutes, and the music I chose was 4.5. So I'll just say, oh man river, he just keep rolling along. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Mack.
Good evening. How's everybody? I'm not going to sing. I think I can rap, but you won't hear me rap either. I'm in favor of anything going on in St. Helena, certainly as Art Center. Joe Mack, I live and work in York Lovers District. I'm speaking on behalf of Beaufort Trailblazers, and also somebody that grew up in the city of Beaufort. This comments is about the green space 1 cent referendum, and it's also about sports and recreation. The proposal or guidelines for the green space that has 11 items for the purpose of that specific efforts. The 11 items are, and there's actually multiple items within those items. One of them is, the last 4 words of item C out of the 11 is provide land for recreation. You know, Beaufort, plenty of people play sports and even sing in Beaufort. It's not a sports town, however. I don't know what the connection is between the state statute and the state people, except for of the 7 members on the advisory committee that's to be formed if this passes. I guess we're voting in November. Is one of those individuals is a member of the local delegation. I don't know any other connections. I don't know too much about it, but I did peruse over it. And in there, in the 7-person advisory committee where it talks about how they're going to score this land, it mentions the green print, the green print overlay and the county comprehensive plan. That relates to parks in a way. Of course, I'm a farmer would look at this to see what he could grow. I'm into sports. I'm looking to see recreation angle. A lot of people play sports in this town. We're just looking for options. You had all kind of options for Ladies Island. You even had an option to tear down the Crystal Lake building for the alignment traffic. That was never going to happen. So you had every option there under the sun, except for maybe flyovers and tunnels. With the sports, we just we need more options in Beaufort, not less, to choose from in developing things. Is that the 3 minutes?
You have 25 seconds left.
Okay, so the passive ordinance that defines the activities, that was about 4 years ago. It was December 10th, 2018. And I think that just about covers it. So the main concern is with these lands, potential lands to preserve, and how, just think about sports, just something to think about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Please come forward.
Good evening, Jessie White. I'm the South Coast Office Director for the Coastal Conservation League. I wanted to thank you. Beaufort County has been a leader dating back over 20 years to the creation of the Rural and Critical Lands Program, which was the first conservation funding program locally in the state of South Carolina. And this year you are again leading the state following the new conservation tool of the Green Space Penny, which is going to complement and bolster the efforts of the Rural and Critical Lands Program. The Green Space Penny offers an unprecedented opportunity to further the successful model of that Rural and Critical program, but at a new scale. that is commensurate with the development pressures that are facing our region and allows us to accomplish more, both because it is more funding at a local level, which means more conservation opportunities, and that includes public recreation opportunities. And also because it's not limited by the Beaufort County lines, allowing for a critically important regional approach to leverage more results. Beaufort County is in the heart of the Port Royal Sound watershed, which is a unique system dominated by expansive salt marshes and high salinity waters that extend inland 10 miles. Nearly 75% of the watershed is dominated by forest, wetlands, or open water, and it encompasses land in Beaufort, Jasper, Hampton, and Allendale counties. So how and where we grow within this watershed is going to have impacts throughout the whole watershed. Likewise, land protection efforts within the watershed are felt throughout. Protecting green space offers a crucial balance, and the key is balance to the growth and development that we're experiencing, because we want to retain what makes this place so special and attractive in the first place. Doing so, protecting land on a strategic level also helps calm our future traffic problems by ensuring that we're not focusing development in places that don't have the infrastructure in place to support it. This is especially evident along Highway 170, where our watershed stretches across multiple jurisdictions, and the impacts of land conversion transcend those boundary lines. Last but not least, our local and regional economy is built on the backbone of healthy resources. In 2020, 2.89 million visitors came to Beaufort County and created an economic impact of $1.45 billion. We applaud you for continuing to lead the state by example in local land protection through the Green Space Penny, which is informed by the successful template of rural and critical lands, and which will complement those ongoing efforts with the leverage needed to make generational improvements for our environment and community quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, we will close the citizen comments. Thank you for those comments, and we will go to our committee reports. Any member of the council who wishes to give a report at this time? Okay, Mr. Glover.
I don't have a, excuse me, I don't have a committee report, so I'll take this opportunity, if you allow me to, I want to thank Mr. Sterling for stopping by and actually supporting the Performing Arts Center. He's actually traveling to Australia. That's where he's living, but we are hoping that he's in transition to come back to St. Helena. He's a native of St. Helena, so thank you.
Great. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. I would need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, please.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Howard makes the motion and Mr. Rodman makes the second. Duly motioned and seconded. Any comments about the consent agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda will be approved without objections, and I see no objections. Next item is a public hearing and third reading of an ordinance to provide maintenance work on private roads. May I have a motion for that, please?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Glover made the motion and Mr. Flewelling made the second. Duly motioned and seconded. Discussion. We'll begin. Mr. Glover, you made the motion.
No more than I would have said. I've said already about the private road and the need for emergency purposes at this time. Just want to make a comment that Larry asked, and I think Eric commented about the ownership of land, and that a lot of these private roads are actually heirs' property that goes back to the Civil War time. So trying to get, it's some of the problems we having with, even with getting easements for drainage. A lot of heirs' property in those areas, and it becomes very difficult, especially when it's time to pay. These people just ownership is just not there. So this is really going to help a lot of areas in at least getting people access to emergency services on private roads. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Llewellyn, you made the second. Your comments, sir?
I have no comment, sir.
Okay. Mr. Rodman?
Yes, I've, of course, spoken in the past, I have a concern that this is a violation of the state constitution. But in thinking about this, I'm wondering, and it's just throwing it out for Eric's consideration, whether some kind of a nominal charge when we do that kind of thing would be a way to bridge the gap between legality and not a burden on the people who are being helped. So I just throw it out as a possible, something to think about.
Mr. Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is something that we've gone back and forth on council. There's a few of us that don't think we legally have the ability to use the funds. There's some of us that don't like the blanket ordinance just to solve certain problems, whether it is heirs property or multiple houses sharing one road. What liability does it put us in as a county? If we maintain this road, how much does it cost? How many roads are there? There's a lot of unanswered questions that I think a lot of us didn't have time to get the answers. Maybe staff is ways they can help us out with that. So I'm actually going to make a motion today that I move that we refer this back to committee for public service and community service to get some of those questions answered. And see if we can develop it a little bit more. Because I do think there's some positive aspects of this, but there's also a lot of question marks that I think we need to get answered before we can create a blanket ordinance that, one, we don't know how many roads, we don't know the legalities of it all, nor do we know how much it's going to cost. I couldn't tell the people that vote for me if it's going to cost $100,000 or $10 million. I have no clue. I'm not sure if any of us do right now. I think that's something we need to develop.
Okay. There's,
Second that amendment.
okay. Duly motioned and seconded. Does everybody understand what the amendment is? Is to now refer this to the Community Services Committee, where the Community Services Committee will take up some additional questions and concerns about this ordinance so that County Council can duly hold a public hearing and third reading on this.
Facilities.
Which one did you say?
Community service.
Some community service, public safety,
It came,
together.
yeah. And that's fine if that's what you all want to do, but this came forward first time from public facilities. But I'm good with however you all want to handle it.
It could, either one.
I just figured community service and public
Yeah.
safety if the entire
that's
ordinance is
great. I like
based
it.
on the safety for the roads.
I like it.
Mr. Kemney?
Yeah, I don't think that's an amendment to the motion. I think that's a different motion. I think if you want to make a motion to postpone, is this third reading? Postpone third reading until the next meeting of council and refer it back in the meantime to come back, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
Then the amendment.
So that will be your motion, is to
Postpone the vote today and refer it back to committee.
On the,
To which meeting, December, November? Well, the community services meeting will be November 10th. I don't know, we can probably just get some idea of what the issues are that need to be addressed and then find out how long it will take for us to get the answers to those things, such as how many roads, how much will it cost, what is the actual maintenance we're talking about. We're not talking about pizza deliveries and FedEx, we're talking about fire trucks, ambulances, and police cruisers. So those will be the questions that are posed by Colonel Foote at the public safety portion of the meeting, and then we'll probably find out how long it will take to get those answers so that we can establish that time. I don't know if we'll know what meeting. To be safe, we should probably do it, there's only one meeting in November and one in December, and if we do this on October 10th, I don't think we'll have the answers by the early November meeting, so it would probably have to be the last meeting of the year.
And I think that would be a good meeting for it to come to, because I don't think the administration and the chairman want matters coming forward for third and final reading in the first meeting in January.
Correct.
December would be.
Okay.
Correct. Okay, so does everybody now understand the motion that's on the floor is to postpone the action of a public hearing and third reading until the December meeting, and to refer this ordinance to the Community Services Public Safety at their next meeting to have additional information provided to council. Okay.
Chairman.
Mr. Fluellen, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Thank you.
Now we can hear
I'll
you.
oppose this motion, sir. I don't think that we're going to receive any information that we don't now in the form of, in answering this motion today, or in answering the original question today. We won't be trusting to the administrator. In other words, when we vote in December, we're going to do the same thing we're doing now. There's no point to the delay, and I oppose the motion.
Mr. Somerville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to follow the procedure here. I know we had a motion on the floor for item number, what was it, item number 10?
10.
Yeah, so it was moved and seconded, and then all of a sudden we're talking about something else. I don't know if we're following procedure there or not, whether we should go back and deal with a motion on 10 and then go back to a second motion or not. I'm not real clear on that.
The answer to your question is the motion was to hold a public hearing and third reading. Then we had a subsequent motion to postpone the action. So we're literally amending the motion by postponing the action of the public hearing and third reading and referring it to committee. So
Yeah, I understand. That's fine. So it's a motion to postpone. I think that's why I was a little.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to oppose that for a lot of different reasons. I guess I can kind of list some of them. Number one is that this whole business about whether it's legal or not, while it is a fair legal question, it's equally true that we have been working and do work consistently regularly on private roads all the time. We've been doing it forever, and we still do it. We have a long list called legacy roads that we don't own, we don't have title to, and we maintain. So it's really a question of whose private property we're going to do work on and whose private property we're not going to do work on. And I have always been an advocate that when there is a private road that is not passable by emergency vehicles, and when we have in my opinion, we have an obligation to do a quick scrape and make it passable. So I don't think that, as far as how much of this is going to actually happen, how many of these roads are going to be, they will never know the answer to that. It may be part of it's weather related. I've been satisfied with the language in this ordinance from the beginning because I think it was well crafted. I'm not sure who crafted it, if it was Tom Kevin or who it was, but whoever crafted it did a nice job because it allows a lot of discretionary authority on the part of staff to say, no, we're not going to work on that road because, in our opinion, you can get a truck down. In our opinion, you can get a police car down. In our opinion, you can get a school bus down, or whatever the question may be. So I think all of those questions have been addressed, and I think any attempt to postpone this from third reading is, and again, in my humble opinion, is just an exercise in futility. We know everything we're going to do. We know everything now that we're going to know, and either we want to do it or we don't. I know some people are opposed to it. I certainly respect their opinion. I've always been an advocate of it. I'm going to continue to be, but I'm absolutely going to vote against the motion to postpone this. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Larson.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Obviously, everyone knows that I've been opposed to this mostly because of the using public funds for private property. However, I will support Mr. Cunningham's motion just because I think there is things that do need to be addressed to make this more palatable. One is that there should be a per occurrence amount that we should set that says you can only spend so much on each occurrence. There's probably a limit on the amount per year that the county administrator can spend. And Eric, I have all trust in you that you do the right thing. However, someday I'll be gone and someday you'll be gone. The last thing I want to do is open this up that we start spending $10,000 on a road that needs to be fixed because of it washed out. That's a private drive. So those are the things that I think that need to be addressed in this ordinance. And again, everything I understand, this is for emergency services to get a vehicle back in. So it does not cover cemeteries to get the access there. And as Mr. Rodman mentioned, there should be a way that even if we do this, there probably are people that are going to go in and do the emergency fix that can afford to pay for it. So if they can't afford to pay for it, then there should be a bill that goes to them. They're probably more than willing to pay for it. And if someone cannot afford it, if we're doing this, well, then there should be an application that they fill out. And again, there's a way that we can then decide that it is going to be pro bono, be free for them to have their access taken care of. I mean, I understand that the safety side, I just still think that we're opening up Pandora's box for us to start maintaining roads all over the county. So again, I will support at least pushing this off and just looking at this a little closer.
Okay, Mr. Greenway. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Howard.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be voting against the postponement. I think this was well-written, and I think that this covers what we're talking about is emergencies. So I will be voting against the postponement.
Okay, Mr. Greenway.
And again, you know, as it's been my practice since I've been county administrator, I never want to do anything that a significant majority of council is in favor of. So if you all want to postpone it to do that, I have no issues with that. This is not it could be argued that it's a time sensitive matter, but we're changing policy to provide more services to people that they've never had. So it's not like there's any urgency to rush this through. If there's an opportunity for us to get it right, to make sure that we have all the concerns and questions addressed, then I'm certainly fine with that as well. So I'm comfortable with the way the current language is. There are limitations on my authority based on my spending thresholds in the procurement policy and manual. And, you know, we're not going to go out and reconstruct entire roads to 3 or 4 houses. Essentially, it's just going to be basic, minimal repair to be able to get a fire truck and an ambulance down that road. I will say one additional thing that I've been made aware of by my talented legal staff here is that there is a difference between doing work on private property, and Councilmember Cunningham asked this at the last council meeting. I didn't do a very good job answering it for you. There's a difference between responding to private property issues during a hurricane or some other thing, and the Constitution does not say you cannot do work on private property, but it has to be for a public purpose. So the argument here can be made that fixing a private road for an ambulance to get down to serve 3 or 4 houses is not a public purpose. That's a benefit to individual property owners. So whenever you're dealing with hurricane debris cleanup and things like that, it's a different situation because you don't want debris to be sitting around and breeding snakes or rats or causing safety issues in neighborhoods and things like that. So I just wanted to clarify that for you all this evening so you have a full picture. But again, I don't have a problem with the postponements, whatever council wants to do.
Okay. Any other comments from council members before we vote?
I just have one question. Mr. Greenway, do we have a history in the county of ever paving roads for anyone? Do we pave roads that aren't, that are private roads?
Only through development agreements.
So what do we pave though? We pave private roads?
No, we do not pay. I'm not aware of any situation where we paved private. Let me answer this based on my experience in other jurisdictions. So if somebody comes to us and says, we want the county to take over our road.
Yeah.
We tell them, if you want us to take over your road, you got to pay to bring the road up to county standards, whether it's paved or gravel or whatever, and turn it over to the county. I don't think we would ever take on an additional gravel road. Jared, Well, I don't think we'd take over somebody just upgrading a road to a gravel road, so they would probably have to pave it themselves and then turn it over to the county if we wanted to maintain it.
And in your estimation on that legal language regarding public service, the delivery of a fire truck or an ambulance or a police is not a public service?
Well, it's a community, it's a public benefit to the community at large, not to a single resident or landowner. And the argument and the fear is that someone could construe this ordinance to provide only a benefit to an individual property owner, not the public at large. I feel like it is providing a benefit to the public at large, but that's for you all to vet, and that's probably why it would be a good idea. And I sound like I'm dancing here, I'm really not. Again, I support this ordinance, but if you all need that clarification, then it would be best for you all to vote in favor of Mr. Cunningham's motion so that we can take it back before committee and we can have Tom and everybody lined up so that we can give you the history on the other jurisdictions and how they view it and how they handle it, and we can have Tom talk to you all about the legal theory behind it.
I asked this question on St. Helena the other night, and I don't know if it's relevant. Are the people who live on these private roads squatters or taxpayers?
They're taxpayers.
So they pay taxes to the county?
They do.
Okay.
They pay taxes, and we provide a service to them just like we would provide for anyone maintaining. The only difference here is that we don't have a right-of-way to do work on those roads, but as you all know, we don't have right-of-ways or agreements for a lot of things that we own, that we upgrade roads, and many of you all opposed me several months ago when I was trying to resolve the boat landing issue and us doing maintenance on boat landings that we did not own on private property. And you all emphatically as a council said you are not going to shut down any boat landing in the county. So there's some precedent for you all asking us to do that. But again, I think that could probably go back to we maintain boat landings because it provides a greater public purpose and benefit to one or two property owners. So.
Okay. Mr. Harvishon.
Thank you, Dr. Eric. I have a potentially silly question, and I'm going to apologize for asking it up front, but I'm very curious. What is the difference between a roadway and a driveway?
A roadway and a driveway? Well, and that's one thing we may need to clarify in the policy. I was thinking about that earlier, is that we need to clarify that it has to serve a certain number of homes on that individual piece of property or down that road, okay? So typically a private drive serves one home, and a private road serves two or more homes.
Okay, so the way that the ordinance is written is one or more property owners, and that kind of leads me to believe it's one home or more.
Could be, yeah.
So that could be a driveway.
That's right, yeah,
Okay.
it could be.
Thank you.
But I would not ever spend money to maintain somebody's driveway.
I get that, but just to reemphasize what Mark said
But again,
earlier.
that's the confusion that could be created.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll? Mr. Cunningham made the motion and Mr. Rodman made the second.
Councilmember Cunningham?
Motion to postpone.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Flewelling?
To clarify, I did not second the motion to delay.
Oh, no, sorry, Councilmember Rodman. I was going in back.
Yes.
Okay, now Councilmember Flewelling?
No.
Councilmember McGillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawson?
Mark Lawson, yes.
Councilmember Howard?
No.
Councilmember Hervishon?
Yes.
Councilmember Glover?
Yes, I mean, no.
Vice Chair Somerville?
No.
Chairman Passman?
Yes.
The motion is 6-4. A motion to postpone, does it need
Just
Yeah,
simple
6-4.
majority.
Simple majority, it passes.
Yes, if I might, I understand that the next community services meeting is next Monday?
November 10th, yeah.
October. I'm available this week, tomorrow, if you would like to get together on the phone and get a list of questions and issues you'd like.
Writing them down, I'll call you tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, item number 11 is a public hearing and second reading of an ordinance to amend the Beaufort County Ordinance 2022/33 for the fiscal year 2022-23 Beaufort County budget to provide for additional appropriations to pay for fiscal year 2022 carryovers, use of fund balance for property acquisition and transportation projects, and the use of current year funds for capital projects and equipment purchases, to fees, refund, general obligation bonds, and other matters related thereto. A motion, please.
So moved for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rodman makes the motion. A second, please.
I'll second the motion.
Ms. Howard makes the second, and I understand there is going to be an amendment to this.
There will hopefully be an amendment, and I'm going to go through that with you right now. Some time ago, Councilmember McEllen and we started dealing with storage needs at the Board of Voter Registration. So I presented them with an option of using a building that we recently purchased with the DOD, known as Harris Pillow. The folks that on the voter registration board were pushing for an expansion at 15 John Galt Road, where the voter registration office is located. So I'm going to walk you through this presentation that I gave to the voter registration board last week, and I want you to follow me through this, and I'm going to give you my thoughts, and then I'm going to tell you their recommendation, okay? So we had two options. Option one, you can just see this, standard details here for 1,884 square feet approximately. We can do an addition to John Galt facility for about $15 a square foot. Next slide, please. Keep on going. Yeah, so total cost for that would be $232,950 for an 1,884 square foot addition on the back of the building for them to store their voter registration machines. So I'm going to ask you all here in a moment if you all support this. I'm going to ask you all to make an amendment to the motion. Amend the current motion on the table to authorize an additional $240,000 for the construction of this addition. So the total construction cost, I said $15 a square foot, but that was related to something specific. It's $124 a square foot. So next slide. And this is the facility. You can see that we've done one addition on the property already. The addition that we're proposing will completely build out this property. There will be no more room for expansion after we do this addition. None, zero, nada, not any land left to do anything. We don't even own where they park right now on this property. They park under the power line right away.
So will there be any space available when we do this?
There will be space for the 1,800 square foot addition, but that'll be it. So anyway, the second option is is Harris Pillow to do a 35 by 50 cage system there. We could do that for $55,618. So you can make that 70 by 100 for 7,000 square feet, and it'd be 110 or 111 or 112, something like that. And then the total cost for doing that 35 by 50 would be $80,868, which, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong number. Let's see all those totals up there. The grand total would be $90,599. So if you double the space, you could give them 7,000 square feet of storage space at Harris Pillow for 60 grand less, and you can add on an 1,800 square foot addition to their present building.
Can we ask some questions?
Yeah, you can.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Good. Picture of it. Is the roof good? No problems with leaking?
Roof is good. If there's any leaks, we'll do like we do with any facility where we have leaks. We'll fix it.
It can be secured from anyone else entering
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna put a cage system around, a wire cage system that'll have a roof over the top, or we'll make it tall enough so.
And how often, twice a year they'll have to access it, or?
I think probably more than that.
To check.
But they claim that there's a security concern with this facility here at Harris Pillow. There's two issues: security of the machines. They can't guarantee the security. We're gonna have a security system. They're gonna have more security in Harris Pillow than they have when the voting machines are sitting out for a few weeks in early voting at various parks and rec centers or wherever they have them.
And nobody else uses the building for anything?
Well, we have some storage going on. We use it for storage. We put some parts in. I had to get we got the football pads and all the equipment out of Charles Lynn Brown in the big room back there near the kitchen, so that's being stored there. We've stored some broadcast stuff. We have a broadcast equipment museum here at Beaufort County of all the old things that we chose to keep, so we store it there. So anyway, so that was a little tongue-in-cheek, I'm sorry. And then also their concern is the DOD has a restricted easement on this property that says we can only have so many people there per day working inside the building. So they say they need to go in there and work on the machines to program them and things like that. I don't think that'll be a problem with the DOD because there won't be that many people. But they claim that there's logistic issues with their operation by storing the machines at this location. So I'm not here to debate that issue. I'm wanting to paint a clear picture for you all so you all can decide what you want to do with the budget amendment, because we need to appropriate some monies tonight for this issue. Why do we need to appropriate it tonight?
Why this can't be in the budget next year?
Because they are claiming that they're out of space now. So I was asked to work on this with them, and I've done that. And if you all want to do it now, then I was thinking that it would be better to try to amend the budget amendment that we've got going forward on second reading as opposed to trying to do it at third reading. But if council doesn't want to do it tonight, I have no issues with waiting until the new budget year, if you all prefer to do that. I'm good with that. So,
What's the recommendation by staff? And do we have an estimated time of how long it would take to build the expansion compared to the cage system?
this would be a matter of a few weeks. You're looking at design, permitting, construction, so it'd be probably a year before the addition could be completed. You're looking at a couple of months on this, so.
When you made this presentation to the board, what was the result?
The board made a recommendation that we get the expansion, that they do the expansion for 240 at their present location. And I want to make it clear, it does not matter to me which one we do. If there's logistics issues here, I don't know if, we need to fight that battle for voter registration, because I don't know what it takes to run a voter registration office or voter registration process. It doesn't matter to me what to do, but I want to make it clear here tonight to this council that they're going to be out of room at that site if we do this addition. And my fear is that somebody's going to be coming before council in 2 or 3 years to say, oh, voter registration is out of room, we want you to build us a new office building. That is not in my plan to recommend that to council as long as I'm county administrator. They have adequate space where they are right now, and we just need to be smart here as to what we're going to do. And if we decide to add on to the existing location, we need to let that be it and say, this is your storage, this is what you told us you wanted back in 2022, you're not getting a new building, you're not getting a new location, this is what you have. So, and that's basically it in a nutshell. So, and if you all don't want to deal with this tonight, I'm happy. I've fulfilled my obligation to the voter registration folks to bring this forward to council for your consideration. I'm good.
Mr. Hervishon.
I got two quick ones, but did I hear correctly that you think that they've got adequate storage right now?
They don't have adequate storage right now.
They do, okay.
They do not.
Okay, and then, can you remind me how we came to own the Harris Pillow building?
We bought it with the Department of Defense through Rural Critical Lands Program, because that's the Raw Battle Fund. So the front of that building, where the glass windows are, will be used for an interpretive center for the Revolutionary Trail. I can't call the name of it now, but Liberty Trail. Yes, they are the front portion of that. And then the warehouse is back behind. You can't really see that from the front. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, just a quick comment. I don't feel so great about putting this on RNC property. I just don't feel like that's within the character of the program, personally. I'm not about spending money, I mean, we all know that, but I just don't think that it's an appropriate use of that property.
Couple of questions.
Go ahead.
The main headquarters for the voter registration Board of Elections is the building on John Galt.
That's correct.
That's where the majority of their staff is.
That's where the employees are.
So if they move all of this equipment out of there, you won't have to expand the space. And there's new equipment coming towards the end of this year as well for the general election, I understand.
Right.
So all the equipment would move to a space where there is no one there permanently stationed.
That's correct.
So everything would be there in a secure place. So the people at John Galt, if they had to go and service this equipment, they would have to leave their primary workspace and go there to do it, as opposed to being able to do it in the expanded workspace where they're going to work every day.
That's correct.
Okay. This covenant from DOD, does it restrict the number of hours per day and the number of people, or just the number of people?
Just the number of people.
And what's the number?
I think it's like 22.
22 at a time?
22 a day.
A day?
Yeah, but there's no way to, I mean, I'm speaking, there's really no way to,
And the reason for that is because it's in the flight path?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the exit potential zone.
Yeah.
So if anything were to happen to that building, all of our voter registration and Board of Elections equipment would be destroyed.
It's a very good point.
Is that true?
I can almost guarantee if an F-35 lands on that building, all the voter registration stuff is going to be destroyed.
And all the football pads.
I can say that with a high degree of confidence.
I thought you might. So then, all of this expansion, right now, when you go to see what's in those buildings, all of the voter materials are stacked on top of each other. And for the people to work on it, they have to unload it and then go and work on it. But over at the other place, at the Pillow Factory, it would all be available on floor level, at eye level, so to speak. So they wouldn't have to unstack it anymore. But if we expand the space, they would have to, they could unstack everything and just do the work right there.
At least temporarily.
Until they ask for a new building.
Or until that space fills up and then they get more stuff.
Yeah. So, well, I think they anticipate, and I may be wrong, that the amount of equipment coming in isn't going to be overwhelming, and that it will all fit with the existing material into the expanded space.
Right. And I've heard that as well.
Okay. I have no other.
I would rely upon them for that information.
Okay.
Mr. Cunningham.
Good, you're first, Mr. Glover. If we did the expansion on that building, we own that building, so that'd be improvement to our own property. If we ever needed to transfer that building and put up for sale, will we be able to get our money back out of it?
Oh, absolutely.
Brian's had his hand up.
Mr. Glover and then Mr. Long.
The presentation you just made a few minutes ago, you used white. The black didn't show up that well.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the square footage that is needed by voter registration is what?
They say that they can live with the 1,884 square feet that we're going to add on to John Galt. Now, that's an approximate number, but we know it's going to be around 1,800 square feet.
And the building that's there, the warehouse is about how many square feet?
Currently at John Galt?
Yeah. No.
Or Harris Pillow?
Harris Pillow.
It's probably 40,000 feet.
3,500 or 35?
35 or 40,000 square feet.
Oh, okay.
It's big.
Yeah. I really like the proposal for Harris Pillow as a warehouse for them. They got enough space to work on, et cetera, et cetera. You can always carve out a space for them to do that. But I'm like Brian, the budget process would probably be a good time for this to be brought forth. In that the voter registration board prefer the 1800 at John Galt. And I think that it'd be a good time for them to actually settle down and
Make that request?
So
I'm fine with that.
I prefer to wait until the budget process and allow them to come through.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe, wasn't this matter discussed in the facilities needs assessment that we completed a couple of years ago or a year ago? Wasn't this issue addressed?
It wasn't, this particular issue was not addressed in that. The issue of voter registration needs was addressed, but not a storage need.
What was the recommendation of the facilities needs assessment?
I'm sorry, Councilman Llewellyn, I don't know that right offhand, but that's a great question.
I'm very attuned to what the Board of Voter Registration wants and their needs. I pay particular attention to what they ask for, and they have a very complicated question that needs to be addressed. And while I think it would have been appropriate for this to be handled in the regular budget discussion that we have every year, I think they're pointing out to us that it's an acute need and it's something that needs to be addressed right now. So I'm willing to support this as a budget amendment, and I agree with them that it needs to be done locally. And there are two ways to handle this. One would be to potentially move the entire Board of Voter Registration up there, and we can't do that because of our restrictive covenants with the air station. And so I think the only thing for us to do is to build an amendment, build an addition on their property right there, on their location. And so I don't see any way around this. I'll go ahead and support it today.
I do have a question. How many employees work at the John Galt?
Like,
I mean, so
20.
There's probably 15, 16 employees there.
Okay.
And during the election cycle, it's even more.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
You get voter people coming in all the time.
Yeah. So if you all want to do the addition tonight, I would just request that someone make a motion to amend the budget to appropriate an additional $240,000 for an 1,800 square foot addition for the voter registration facility located at 15 John Galt Road.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Greenway, for the $240,000 for the 1,800 square foot addition to John Galt Road.
I'll make the second.
Okay, duly motioned and second. Mr. Hervishon beat you to the punch. Mr. Llewellyn, are there any other comments? Mr. Radman?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I kind of like the Harris Pillow piece for a couple of reasons. It seems to me we're getting twice the square footage at half the cost. So it's a reasonable expenditure. Secondly, that facility, as I remember, has asbestos problems, and so therefore I think using it for storage is the only thing that we can realistically do there. And if we go to tear it down, then we've got another large bill. And so it's always seemed to me that that lends itself for a basic storage for the county. And it sounds like there's plenty of space there to accommodate this plus the other. So therefore, I tend to think that that's a much better use of the money, also be done quicker. So I do believe we'll need more space, as often as you know. If everything gets built out in Beaufort, we'll double the size of the population, so that's...
So you're a no. You would be a no.
Well, we were just talking about I didn't know we were ready to vote.
Yeah, we're ready to vote.
Oh, okay.
So you're a no?
Sure.
Okay. All right. From what I see, is there anyone else who would vote no? So we have 3 no's. Online, is everyone in approval of this? So we would wind up 7 yes, and 3 no, and we will add the 240,000 to the budget.
I'm a no.
Yes,
Mr. Glover is a no.
Yes.
Ms. Howard is a no, and Mr. Rodman is no. All others are yes. Okay, now we will turn to the public. Is there any member of the public who wishes to make a comment about the ordinance that's before you, including the new $240,000 amount to be added?
I have one question. With the addition, is there any way that we can have the option in the future to make it 2-story if need be?
You're thinking like Ms. Richland over there. So she just asked that question, and we'll evaluate that possibility.
Okay.
To do that. You could probably do the second story without very much more money, so.
Right, okay. All right, so the amendment has been approved. We're now back to the main motion. The public has had a chance to weigh in, has said nothing, so now we will take a vote.
A couple comments.
Go ahead.
Two comments. One that I made prior, which was actually Whitney called it to our attention earlier when in the public facilities meeting about whether we really want to defease bonds, because in reality, we're in a mode of increasing interest rates. So increasing interest rates reduce that amount, and at some point they're going to cross over. Conventional wisdom is we're looking at another 150 basis points, or 1.5%. Plus, if we then do this, and then have to borrow the money, then we got the fees to do it. So I'm not convinced that it makes sense to do this, and if somebody could make a case that it does make sense, I'd be delighted to listen to it. But it does seem to me that it may not make sense. Looks like you're going to.
Ms. Richland.
I'll just respond. Yes, the thought process is to have you guys authorize us so that should the interest rate environment drop again and it makes more sense to defease, we have the ability to do that without coming back to you in subsequent months and asking for that. But by authorizing it, if staff keeps an eye on interest rates and sees that it is not beneficial to defease because borrowing rates in the future would outweigh the interest rates that we're currently paying on debt, and it doesn't make sense to do that, then we would not do that at all. But the point now is just to have that ability if the climate is right for it.
Okay.
And I'm happy to answer any other questions or defer to Mr. Williams.
It just gives us the authority, should the situation arise, that we can, not that we're going to.
That is correct. I can't tell you off the top of my head what our current interest rates are, but let's just say they're at 3% and rates are climbing to 5 and 6%. The municipal market is usually not quite as high as the regular one, so that is advantageous for us. But if they're climbing, it doesn't make sense to borrow at a higher rate in the future. So that's something that staff would evaluate.
Okay.
Now, it also seems to me that following the logic of some of the earlier discussion on other items, to just have an open-ended, that we can do it, and I think it lends itself to come back in a future budget, as opposed to putting it in and trying to keep track of it. But it sounds, well, yeah.
The reason we were requesting this now as part of the amendment is out of efficiency, but we do have 3 issuances that are able to be defeased, and I believe it's March of 2023.
Okay, so you come back to us, so we'll keep us appraised of that.
Yeah, we'll let you know, but we need the authorization as a part of this, and so, because if the conditions get right, we may not have time to get you all to do 3 readings before the conditions, change again. So you're giving us authorization now, and relying upon these very intelligent people that deal with finance stuff to tell me when the time's right, so that I can tell you that the time was right.
Want to take a bet on what the interest rates are going to be? Okay. The second one, this is one that came up a couple years ago, and I don't think it's been paid off, but it's one that we might want to consider doing. It kind of goes like this. Back in 2006, there was a TIF for the educational institutions, for TCL and for USCB. And the TCL piece of it, it was $1.5 million of extra cost over and above what was anticipated. So what they did at that time is they borrowed that money from the county. So there was $1.5 million 20-year bond that was put together at a certain interest rate. About 9 years ago, we refinanced that particular bond and got a lower interest rate, but we didn't pass that interest rate savings along to TCL, to the best of my knowledge. So it seems to me this is one of those that would be the best of interest of everybody if we could tidy that up. I'm guessing they're down to maybe $500,000 of still outstanding principal. Maybe there's an adjustment on the interest rates. But this is one of those they're trying to pay back out of student fees, and TCL, I think, does a pretty good job for this county in terms of job training and everything else. So I just ran across that. It might be worth taking a look at, see if it is $500,000. Someplace we can squeeze that in and get that behind us. So I think that would be very beneficial to TCL and to this population in general. So you might look at that, of course. And if there's enough money, we could still sandwich it into this at third reading.
Okay, are we now ready to vote? So the public hearing and second reading has been held. Mr. Rodman made the motion, and Ms. Howard made the second, and this will be approved with the amendment of the $240,000 without objection. Are there any objections? Seeing none, item number 11 is approved. We go to 12, which is a second reading of an ordinance authorizing the county administrator to execute any and all documents necessary for the sale of the county-owned real properties identified as 1407 King Street and 600 Wilmington Street, City of Beaufort. A motion, please.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Glover makes the motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Howard makes the second. Questions? Seeing none, this will be approved without objection. Mr. Hervishon, you will object? Okay, one objection.
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, 2 objections. Any others? Seeing that, none. This will be approved with 8 yes, 2 no. Mr. Hervishon and Mr. Flewelling voting no. Item number 13 is the second reading of an ordinance for a text amendment to the Beaufort County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 8, Division 2, Section 2-619, to require a property identification number on quit-claim deeds. A motion, please?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Glover makes the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Rodman makes the second. Duly motioned and seconded. I know that where Mr. Flewelling stands on this. Is there anyone else who wishes to make a comment?
So that precludes my comment?
No, sir, you can certainly make your comment.
Okay. I'm just asking.
No, you can.
It's not like I wouldn't be allowed to talk.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know what your comment is going to be, but you can certainly make your comment.
No, I'll withhold it.
Okay.
Interest of time.
Okay. All right. This will be approved with 1 objection. Are there any other objections? Seeing none, this is approved with 10 yes, 1 no. Mr. Flewelling? 9-1. With Mr. Flewelling being the no. Item number 14 is a second reading of an ordinance to amend the Beaufort County Ordinance 2022-33 for the fiscal year 2022-23 Beaufort County budget to provide the distribution from Myrtle Park Phase 2 Fund and amount other matters thereto. Motion, please?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cunningham makes the motion. A second.
Second.
Mr. Rodman makes the second. Duly motioned and second. Any discussion? Seeing no further comments, this will be done without objection. Are there any objections? And I see no objections. Motion passes. Item 15 is a second reading of an ordinance authorizing the county administrator to enter into an exchange, purchase, and/or sale agreement with the town of Hilton Head Island for the sale and purchase of real property consisting of 68 Helmsman Way, 43 Jenkins Road, 70 Bagall Road, and 152 William Hilton Parkway. A motion, please. Mr. Rodman makes the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Glover makes the second. Duly motioned and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, this will be approved without objection, and I see no objections. Next is a second reading of an ordinance to establish a regional housing trust fund and other matters thereto. A motion, please.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Howard makes the motion.
Second.
Mr. Glover makes the second. Duly motioned and seconded. Any comments? Seeing none, this will be approved without objection.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Is this supposed to be a public hearing?
No.
Okay.
October 24th.
Yeah. This will be approved without objection. Item number 17 is the first reading of an ordinance for a text amendment to the Beaufort County Procurement Code, Division 4, Section 2-509, authority and duties of a purchasing director and chief financial officer. Motion, please. Don't jump all at once.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cunningham makes the motion. A second. Mr. Rodman makes the second. Duly motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this will be done without objection. There are no objections. Our final item is a first reading of an ordinance amending the Beaufort County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-28 regarding council salaries. A motion, please.
I'd like to make that motion.
Mr. McCallum makes the motion. A second, please.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cunningham makes the second. Duly motioned and second. Discussion. Mr. McCallum.
Mike.
Every 2 years, this deliberative body has an opportunity to examine the salary levels for council, the vice chair, and the chair. And that if their salary adjustment is made, it's effective the date of commencement of terms of at least 2 members of council elected at the next general election, which will be this November, following the enactment of the ordinance, at which time the amended salary rates will become effective for all members. So we have this opportunity every 2 years to visit this, to decide whether or not we believe, as a body, that the salaries are adequate for members of council, for the vice chair and the chair. This year, we're introducing an ordinance to change the salary of the council members, the chair and the vice chair, and they will include the salary that was established in 2020, the COLA that was granted, in 2020, the COLA that was granted July 1st of 2019, but wasn't effective until January of 21, and the 5% COLA that was granted to the other employees in the county in April of 2022, that is not effective until January of 23. So in this amendment, those 2 COLAs are incorporated to reach the salary levels that we're going to be talking about. The salary level for a council member is $30,004. For the council vice chair is $32,006, and for the council chair, $35,022. And I think the difference in those salary structures are quite apparent for the amount of work that both the vice chair and the council chair do, that is in excess of what I believe the average council member does. So it's $30,000, $32,000, $35,000, with some odd dollars there as well. We would have reached the number of about $29,200 with both of those COLAs being incorporated, so this gives the raise to council of approximately $800, and to the council vice chair of $2,006, and for the council chair, about $4,000. So the totals are 35,022, 32,005, 006, and 30,004.
Yeah. We have to,
There's some other language here for the cost of living adjustments that take place as they are granted to the employees of the county. With regard to county council, they're treated differently. So the effective date of any such cost of living increase for all members of council shall be the 1st of January following a general election where 2 or more members of council have been elected.
questions, comments? Ms. Howard?
Mr. Chairman, back when we did this before, we got rid of the stipend, and that was the only reason I voted for it then, was because we got rid of the stipends. I will not vote for this increase. I don't think it's appropriate. We're here to serve, so I will be voting no, although I did vote yes when we did it the last time because the stipends were eliminated. Thank you.
Other comments?
Just
Mr. Cunningham first, and then Mr. Glover. Oh, no, then Mr. Flewelling, then Mr. Glover.
I have a different opinion and take on this. I don't know if it's just because of my age aspect or being new on county council, but one of the things that I came across running was how limited it is for people to be able to run for county council. And by that I mean any person that works in 95 usually can't do this job. So most people are either retired, own their own business, or due to some type of freelancing or create their own schedule to be able to have the flexibility to even do this job, period. I'm a believer in our system for our elections, and for the best candidates to run, I do think there has to be some type of form of compensation to be able to supplement them missing out on work. So I do support this. I think it's a step in that direction. We have elections this year. We have elections in 2 years. I do think if we're not doing our job adequately, if we're not doing the work that the people that voted us in wanted us there, then we should be challenged, and somebody should run against us, and we should be able to advocate for ourselves based on our track record or along those lines. But for those people to be able to have that opportunity to be able to run for office, there is financial compensation to it, and nobody likes to talk about that dollar amount. It's always a touchy subject, but I do think this is a step in the right direction. I remember watching the meeting 2.5 years ago when I was running, when there were conversations of different dollar amounts, and people kind of laughed at the council member that put that forward, but there is logic behind it. To get the best representation for the county, sometimes that person can't run. So the person that could take my seat might not be able to run because they don't have the freedom in their hours, their day-to-day life, or any one of us. So I will support this. I think it's a step in that direction. It is just a rounding of around $800 for 9 of us. And then down the road, whatever path we decide to take, we have multiple new council members coming on next year. That's something that needs to be discussed, because I do think we should be pushed on county council to do the best job we can. I don't think we should be comfortable. I think it's our job to continue to work and advocate for the people that we represent. Thank you.
Mr. Flewelling, you were next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I object to this for several reasons, but primarily my procedural objection is that this has not gone through a committee, has not received a favorable vote of any committee of county council to be brought before a county council. And so I think that's kind of out of form. And I think such an important issue needs to be discussed at committee so that questions that will be raised today can be discussed. Another thing that going to a committee would do, it alerts the community, our citizens of Beaufort County, that this is something county council is considering. Right now, this is on track, if it receives approval today, to be done before the election. That's in 3 weeks. That's unheard of, that we would be able to rush something through county council in 3 weeks. And especially something that really the public looks at this and looks carefully at this. So I can only think that the whole purpose of this rushing it through is to avoid public scrutiny. And that's exactly what we don't want, folks. And so I object to this very, very strenuously. Also, the language is very sloppy, and I think it contradicts the language that's there, contradicts state law. And, how were these amounts derived? It's the cost of living plus some amount. How do we compare the salaries of county council to other tier 2 counties right now? And, maybe it's more, maybe it's less, I don't know, but we should have an opportunity to talk about this and get this kind of information. This subject is something that should have been raised in March of last year in order to get it approved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all. I stand opposed to this.
Okay, I'm going to correct you on the timing of this. This requires, an ordinance requires 3 readings in a public hearing. This is the first one. The second one will be in November, and the third one will be in December.
So it can't, so it won't be effective for January 2023.
No, it won't. Second one will be in November.
Right.
And the third one,
they need to be elected before, there needs to be another general election before this could take effect.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I didn't support the increase the last time, and so I'm not going to support this at this time.
You are aware that the COLAs are an automatic by law?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Harbison.
Thank you. I supported this last time. Frankly, I regret it. And I think that it's entirely possible that I'm the councilman that Mr. Cunningham reference was laughed at last time. I think that if we really want to do this right, that council salary should rise to the level of the treasurer and the auditor. The reason being, for all the reasons Mr. Cunningham said, if we're going to attract the best candidates, it's more than a part-time job, for sure. It's very, very difficult to hold a full-time job, operate a business, anything like that, with just the salary of council. So for that reason alone, I would not support this. I do think it should have gone through committee, like Mr. Flewelling said, but for a variety of reasons, I'm just not going to support this. I would support this if it was substantially more, something where somebody could live on the wage that a council member would need, but not as written.
Okay. Any further comments? Yeah. Mr. Lawson.
Yes, thank you, and I did support the last pay increase. This one I am not going to. I look back that 2 years ago, the council's salary was $8,000 plus the opportunity for meetings, which made it $14,000, and we doubled it in the last time that we voted. I just think that this is too much, too quick. I do think that it is a full-time job, and again, I've been very blessed that I can do my job and also be a successful councilman. So I will not support this at this time. I just think the timing is wrong with the way the economy is and what's happening with the county.
Okay. All right. Duly motioned and seconded. Will you please call the roll? Mr. McKellen was first. Mr. Cunningham was second.
Councilmember McKellen?
Yes.
Councilmember Cunningham?
Yes.
Councilmember Flewelling?
No.
Councilmember Lawson?
Mark Lawson, no.
Councilmember Howard?
No.
Councilmember Rodman?
Abstain.
Councilmember Harbison?
No.
Councilmember Glover?
No.
Vice Chair Somerville?
Yes.
Chairman Passanant?
Yes. Motion is defeated.
4 to 5.
Citizen comments. Is there anyone who wishes to make a citizen comment at this time? Seeing none, no further action to be taken before county council. This meeting is adjourned.